Hello people, this is Ryder here to review the Kamen Rider Geats DX Bujin Sword Buckle. So this is the raised buckle that Tycoon or Kayla obtains within the last 10 episodes of the series, to which he does. This is his final form, because he didn't get anything in Jamato Awakening. So here we have the buckle right there. We have the Red Eyes version of Bujin Sword present here. Obviously we just have the name. And then here they actually have both versions of the form. So here is Bujin Sword. This is the purified version of Bujin Sword. And this is the original version. Kind of wish they made it more obvious of the difference, but basically because of the fact that the form has a red visor already, the purified version actually has his eyes red. The initial version has his eyes black. Really do like that you still have this consistent with the DGP Bujin Sword Buckle. Contents and the QR code for the PDF file. The bottom is just the warnings and cautions and such. This has 2 LR44s included. And the back just tells you how to use it and the big feature they want you to do. This is a thick box. So here we have the buckle assembled, because technically this buckle comes into 3 pieces and such, because this is basically the entirety of Bujin. We have the 2 halves of the buckle and the Bujin itself and such. Obviously this is not the actual sword because Bandai China put out the sword, but it's the buckle representation of Bujin. So we'll take a look at these components one by one. So here's the 1/2 of Bujin sword, to which I really do like the simplicity of the buckle. I really like this gunmetal gray with the red ring, and then the interesting design they have here, like surgery-esque design. Even though it's basic, I do like that it's still there. And I really do like the green, whatever you call these. I really do like the green pieces added here. The back, before that, top, obviously we have the buckle cover. I'll just call it the buckle top, which I always appreciate. The back, again, just like Shinobi, they have removed the QR code, even though there's clearly a spot for it, but there's no QR code. And this side here is 077. And as you can see from here, this is the first buckle to not actually have anything to activate it. So it has a rail, but you can't do anything to have it actually interact with the belt or anything you insert it. So this is the first buckle that's actually a hunk of plastic, which I don't mind. Here's the second part of Bujin, or the Bujin Sword Buckle. Technically, again, it should go this way, but I think it's made to be in this orientation and such, to which obviously it's the same. It's similar to this half, but obviously it doesn't have this protruding centerpiece, and instead it has this entire mechanism for the Bujin, and obviously the speaker. And obviously, as you can tell, this side is weightier because this side has the sounds. And this, again, surprisingly, this still has the QR code spot, but this one is still 074. Button for the driver. And the way this one works, obviously, like what I said, these get pushed in and out, which then quickly pokes, which then this post quickly pokes out and such, to which is alright. We'll see, but if that doesn't happen, then I'll just say what happens and such. But And again, we've already taken a look at Bujin a bit and such. This is a really impressive piece and such. Just the fact that we have this huge piece for the buckle is really neat. You can remove the star because it just clips in right here. And then, you know, the handle is really huge. Like, this is actually like a really huge handle. And I really do like the Ninja Star design that they still are carrying from Ninja and such. And then here we have the sheath right here. And then obviously we can pull like so for the gimmick, to which this one carries over the same thing they did with Boost Mark 9, where they actually change up the quality. So now it's an angry... I think this one's supposed to be a raccoon. But it's really interesting with how this works. Because obviously these are where you're going to flip it in. And then basically it's this one that gets moved and such. And then you have this huge empty gap within the handle, just because of how this works. So assembling this, you want to clip this lower clip right here, and then you want to align this one up here like so. So you don't want something like this to happen, because I don't know how this happens sometimes. This happened to me in the demo, but you don't want it so that this is moving, or like where you want, where it's one-sided. So because the way you want to have these clipped in is that you want to make sure that this is aligned and such, so then you can have a smooth sheathing process as opposed to a one-sided process. And as you can see from here, I forgot to show this, each side of these have a clip in like from the beginning to an end. I don't know how to describe it. To which then you just simply clip them in like so, and now we have the entirety of the Bujin Sword Buckle, to which this is definitely the largest buckle they have done up to this point, which is pretty impressive and such. But other than that, when we pull the pull tab out, we only have one sound with this. You don't get a sound for splitting it like how it's done in the show, but you do get a sound for pulling the sheath, and then for retracting it in. So yeah, not much, but you know, it's impressive, definitely. So let's take the Desire Driver out. Alright. So with the Desire Driver, obviously we need Tycoon's core ID and such. So obviously to set Bujin Sword into the Desire Driver, we want to split it, and then we want to set both of these in at the same time. However, we want to make sure this side obviously does not make a sound. But we want to also make sure that these two are aligned, so then the two can clip into each other again when you insert it into the Desire Driver, but also so then the Desire Driver can actually read the buckle. Just like that. So then we have the standby, and then again, to complete the transformation, you want to unsheath the sword. Alright. But that's not what you... That's definitely not what you want. So there we have the transformation of Tycoon Bujin Sword, which is pretty neat and such. It's pretty in line with all the power-ups and such. Though the silhouette this buckle gives to the Desire Driver is really cool and such. Like, besides the fact you do have a large sword now, I really do like how well they implemented the blade for the core ID and such, and just how seamless this is and such. I really do like how these power-ups do evolve the core ID. And again, as you can see from here, the design here is now connected and such. And just overall, Bujin on the Desire Driver is pretty neat and makes it a really imposing silhouette and such. And I really do like the contrast of this metal gray on the black of the Desire Driver. Again, it's really cool when these buckles actually do fill out the Desire Driver really well and such. But obviously it is the power up, so we do have two finishers, so we want to retract the sword in. And because we did that too quickly, it didn't press the button in the Desire quickly to activate the LEDs. Obviously you want to pull it out. But I'm kind of bothered with that obvious cut, because I don't know why they didn't just let the unsheathing sound play through and then the Bujin Sword strike. But hopefully we do get the LEDs. You want to push it in again, but then you want to do the same process you did for the strike, but you want to push it back in after. So you're basically retracting it twice, because you get a second standby. And then you want to pull it out again. For the victory sound. I assume it didn't press it again because the LEDs are not supposed to come out that quickly. I also apologize for the framing of this. But that is basically it for Bujin Sword by itself. However, in a quick process, we have to retract this back in and then remove the buckle. And then we want to revolve on to do a thing he briefly did, which is utilizing other raised buckles. So obviously, this uses the same track as the Command Twin Jet raised buckle and such. It's just that you can't activate it. But this is basically what happens when you pair up this track with any other buckle, to which I really like that it got used. Obviously, obviously it's supposed to be the core ID is obviously supposed to be up, but we can't do that. So obviously, I should have mentioned this. This makes it to be Tycoon Bujin Monster, and now this one's Tycoon Bujin Boost form. To which, you know, again, this is a cool concept they did and such. Just they barely did it. They did it for the one episode. I feel it goes for the sake of the Revolve change figures, but alright. Again, for these power-up items, we're not going to use them in any other device just because it's just going to give us great, and also just because of how difficult it's going to be inserting them in there. Even though, again, with this half, you just need to remove the sword. But this has the same button as the Shinobi raised buckle, meaning if you were to insert it into any weapon, it's going to activate. So just watch the demo for that. The fact this is going to be shorter than the Shinobi Raised Buckle is kind of sad. But this thing's not going to sit. But overall, I think this is a fine raised buckle and such. Obviously, this is a premium item, and it basically functions as a DX item. So I understand there's some gripes about that because of how much this thing costs. But before we get to that, again, I just like how this takes some. It doesn't necessarily take aspects of Geats 9, but I do like how they did manage to give Tycoon an original buckle, even if it meant premium Bandai. But just because of how late this was in the show. But I really do like the concept of just a full-on, belt-sized item. Because the fact that this thing's the size of the driver is pretty impressive and such. And yes, while the sounds it makes are basically the bare minimum of what any other raised buckle does, I think it's at least fun with how it works. Though I feel like the only issue about the way it works is just, again, the way this pokes out too quickly for it to hit the desired driver. So you're gonna have moments where you're just not gonna have LEDs display when you play with it, just because of how quick that post is at poking out. And sometimes it just doesn't. I think it doesn't. Sometimes it just doesn't come out far enough for it to hit the desired driver. Because any other problems this has with the desired driver is obviously the fault of the desired driver. Like basically trying to plug both buckles in, but then sometimes it will actually sometimes basically this side will overwrite this side, so it will have, so then both sides will like set, and obviously you have the thing of the desired driver just not reading the buckles. But again, that's not this thing's fault. But and just sometimes, again, trying to align this sword or the sheath onto here and then just not coming out well sometimes. But overall, this is a pretty it's a pretty fun buckle to mess around with, especially with just like, holding it and just separating it and such. And like, again, like, it's just pretty impressive with how large this buckle is and such. Even though I feel like sometimes like the prop makes it look extremely tiny, especially in the Gotchard and Geats crossover. But yeah, I got this off of Collectibles. I don't remember the price they sold it for, because I think I did get the Japanese release. I think this thing in the aftermarket sells for like between $40 and $60, just because of its stature. Which is unfortunate. I will say this is worth $45 at best, just because of the fact this doesn't have the luxury of being a premium DX item, because we know there will be a premium DX version of this eventually. So I will say, either if you don't mind all the extra phrases or sound effects, go for the original, or wait until the premium DX one gets released so then you can get this version for a cheaper price, because we know everyone's going to flock over to the premium DX version even though it's not worth it. But hopefully you can get this one for a relatively cheap price, because I don't think paying over $50 is worth it and such. And again, it's kind of weird that I mean, I don't mind that they didn't take advantage of the premium DX. They didn't take the advantage of making this a premium DX item right away. Just so then we didn't have those things. Just so then, like, the people that just wanted just the pure sounds of this thing can actually have those instead of all the other extra things. I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. I did not know that this sickness is literally coming to me throughout this entire review. I apologize. I'll film the next video, and then I'll probably have to actually take a break. This is right how I meet people. Bye.